Hello and welcome to ThePrint. This is Bidisha and you're watching Economics. Today, I want to talk about something that almost never trends on social media, rarely features in prime time debates, but will quietly decide whether India actually becomes a manufacturing powerhouse or not. And that something is mining. Now, mining doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't come with catchy slogans, shiny factories, or billion-dollar startup valuations. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The factories of the future will not run on ambition or tariffs. They will run on minerals, copper, nickel, lithium, rare earths, and of course, reliable energy. And right now, India is trying to build a manufacturing future on a resource base that is thin, fragile, and heavily dependent on the rest of the world. Let me break this down. India wants to manufacture more electronics, electric vehicles, batteries, renewable energy equipment, heavy machinery, defense hardware. This ambition is real and in many ways well placed. But manufacturing is not magic. Every factory, no matter how advanced, starts with raw materials. If you don't control your inputs, you don't control the costs. And if you don't control your costs, you don't control your competitiveness. In today's world, global supply chains are no longer just about efficiency. They are about geopolitics. Trade routes are vulnerable, export controls are common, strategic minerals are weaponized, and this is exactly where India's problem begins. Let's start with energy. The oil problem. Let's take oil for instance. India produces about 30 to 31 million tons of crude oil a year. But we consume over 230 million tons annually. That means more than 85% of our crude oil is imported. In fact, provisional numbers suggest import dependence is now close to 88 or 89%. To put that simply, if global oil prices spike, if shipping lanes are disrupted, or if the rupee weakens further, Indian manufacturing feels the shock immediately. Yes, India has built world-class refineries. But refining imported oil still means exposure to global volatility. That's why India is now the third largest crude oil importer in the world. This isn't just an energy issue. It's a cost structure problem for manufacturing. If energy is one pillar, critical minerals are the other. And this pillar is even weaker. Lithium, nickel, cobalt, rare earths. These are not niche inputs anymore. They are the backbone of electric vehicles, batteries, electronics, clean energy, and advanced manufacturing. And India imports almost all of them. Here's the paradox. Geological surveys show that large parts of India have what is called obvious geological potential. In plain English, the rocks suggest valuable minerals might be there. But exploration, the hard work of actually confirming and mapping those resources, have barely happened. India has completed less than half of the geological groundwork required for a serious industrial economy. Globally, mining leaders usually explore 70 to 90% of prospective land before scaling production. So it's not that India has nothing. It's that India hasn't looked hard enough. Now the question is, why is importing everything so risky? Let's talk lithium. India is building battery gigafactories. Electric vehicles are a national priority. But we import nearly 100% of our lithium. The same story plays out with nickel and cobalt. And while India has rare earth reserves, we lack the processing and refining capacity to turn rocks into usable industrial inputs. This matters because the real power in mineral supply chains doesn't lie in digging alone. It lies in the processing. That's where value is added. That's where leverage exists. Right now, much of that midstream capacity sits outside of India, especially in East Asia. So even when we manufacture, we remain dependent on someone else's ores, someone else's refineries, someone else's strategic priorities. That is not resilience. That is outsourced vulnerability. What other countries understood early, globally, this lesson has already been learnt. The United States, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, they now openly call minerals strategic assets. They offer subsidies, long-term offtake guarantees, loan support, and price risk sharing, not because they love mining, but because they understand manufacturing cannot survive without secure inputs. This is not protectionism, this is industrial realism. These countries aren't just speeding up approvals, they are reducing uncertainty for investors on prices, demand, and timelines. That's exactly how supply chains are secured. Now, the question is, why has India lagged? India's lag is structural. For decades, exploration budgets were small, geological agencies were under-resourced, private players faced complex licenses, land issues, and long clearance timelines. From discovery to production, mining projects in India can take 5 to 7 years or even more. Environmental and forest approvals often move sequentially instead of in parallel. Uncertainty raises costs, costs deter capital, and without capital, resources stay underground. Now, scale really matters, and India has it. The good news is India is not starting from zero. Large domestic groups already show how scale and integration reduce risk. When mining is linked with logistics, ports, power, and processing, projects move faster and become commercially viable. India also has a large domestic market, something many resource-rich countries even lack. That market can support scale, learning, and downstream value addition even. But this requires a shift in mindset. Mining and mineral processing cannot be treated as side businesses or revenue sources. They must be treated as national infrastructure. Now, what does a serious strategy look like? A credible approach would start with a national exploration mission, properly funded, time-bound, and technologically modern. Geological data must be made public and accessible, so private capital isn't flying blind. Clearance systems must be unified and digital with statutory timelines. Local costs, environmental as well as social, must be acknowledged, not ignored. But opposition is best handled through credible rehabilitation and benefit sharing, not endless delays. Most importantly, incentives must focus on processing and refining, not just digging ore out of the ground. Because manufacturing power is not about owning rocks, it's about owning value chains. Yes, mining is politically difficult. The costs are visible, the benefits are long term, but the alternative is worse. A manufacturing economy dependent on imported energy and minerals is permanently exposed to price shocks, export bans, and geopolitical pressure. That is not sovereignty, that's fragility. India has the market, the geological potential, and growing industrial ambition. What's missing is urgency, coherence, and commitment. If India truly wants to manufacture at scale, it must stop treating mining as an afterthought. Because the factories of the future will not run on slogans or tariffs. They will run on copper, on nickel, lithium, rare earths, and reliable energy. Securing these inputs is not an optional policy add-on. It is the foundation of competitiveness. Thank you.